Hello and welcome if you're new to my channel, and if you're a subscriber, a warm welcome back. This video is part of my viewer comment response series where I respond to a comment made by a viewer against one of my videos. And the particular comment for this video goes as follows. Can you do a post on loafers soon? They are so great for fall. And I'm curious about feminine options other than the standard Princetown from Gucci and Kelly from Hermes. I'm Anesu Sagonda and I produce educational luxury content for anyone after the fine things, whether you're young and starting out in life and wanting to reap the benefits of buying quality from the get-go, or you're new to money and wanting to learn how to navigate the terrain, or you're into luxury but you want to focus more on quality under the radar brands, then my content is geared towards you. Kristen, I'm also going to include chunkier styles. I know you requested more feminine styles, but I'm including the chunkier side just to get a bit of variety so the video appeals to a slightly wider audience. I'm also going to recommend loafers for men and women. I know a lot of men have expressed disappointment in my comment section and they've asked me to talk more and more about male brands, which I will do going forward. And the focus is very much on quality. As you know, my hashtag is buy better, buy less. So it's brands that are focused on quality. Some are pricier than others, but it's about the construction, the leather used, the comfort, and in turn, how long the shoes will last for, provided, of course, you look after them. The other thing is, in the United Kingdom, I haven't come across a lot of mules as such. I have traveled quite a bit this summer. Recently, I was in Italy again, and I saw a couple of mules, for example. So I'll include mules, loafers for men and women. My first three recommendations are from two Italian brands, Prada and Ferragamo, and the third is Celine, a French brand. And over the years, I've noticed they typically produce your chunkier loafers, but they do have one or two ranges within their range of loafers that are more your slim fit. And what I've also noticed, more so Celine and Prada, is they're geared towards a younger audience. When I look at their social media presence, the models they're using, for example, their campaigns, it's very much focused on a younger audience. Whereas Ferragamo, I get a lot of questions about Ferragamo, in particular the handbags, what do you think of the quality? It's a brand that's very much under the radar. I like their use of color as well. But Ferragamo is a brand I'd highly recommend. The quality of their leathers is fantastic, the craftsmanship. I know I've had a couple of niggles about the handbags, but it's me being incredibly particular, but that shouldn't take away from Ferragamo being a fantastic brand. But looking specifically at Celine, all three brands actually produce loafers for both men and women. With Celine, you have the Triomphe logo on top. But what really stood out when I looked at Celine loafers for the first time was just how incredibly neat the stitching was. It was absolutely fantastic. It was exemplary. I really liked it. Their loafers are coming in at a price of around £700, £750 for both men and also women. Second brand is Prada. Prada, I really like their clothes. I like their shoes. I'm not a huge fan of their handbags. They don't wear particularly well. Prada shoes typically come up big in size. I'm a 35, and when I try on a 35, it fits like a 36, and even with an insole, I find their shoes are still quite big. It's one or two styles that work with me when it comes to Prada, but they typically come up big. What I also like with Prada is their repairs are free. Considering how expensive the shoes are, having free repairs is incredibly welcome, considering there are other brands even more expensive and they still charge for repairs, and then you also have to put, for example, rubber soles underneath where you have leather soles so you have a little more grip. Prada have a couple of pairs of mules in terms of different colors. I've seen black and I think I've also seen burgundy in their mules. And then of course the chunky loafers for both men and women. You're looking at typical prices for the chunkier loafers of around £700 to £900. They do have a slimmer fit loafer with a block heel, and that's coming in at about £650. And then my third recommendation is Ferragamo. Ferragamo I like because of their use of color. The quality is fantastic. Their leathers are superb, and all coupled of course with the craftsmanship. They have a much wider selection of your chunkier and also your slim fit. On the women's side of things, you have shearling lined loafers, deliciously soft, comfortable, incredibly warm and cushioned. Same style of loafer comes with the reversible buckle on top, so it's silver on one side and then gold on the other side. And then they also have a range called gin, not as structured, thick, stiff leather. It's much softer leather, and you can dip in, you can bend in the back of the shoe, and it can be worn as a mule. With the gin loafers, I would highly recommend, they have leather soles on the underside, getting a rubber sole placed under the balls of your feet, so you have a little more traction with the shoes. On the male side, you also have a pair of loafers that have the reversible buckle. And then you also have a number of other materials. You have suede, you have leather, you have embossed leather, for example. Fairly wide selection on the male and also the female side. Prices, you're looking at prices of between 500 to 700 pounds for Ferragamo loafers. My next two recommendations are from Tod's and Roger Vivier. Tod's owns Roger Vivier as well as Hogan. Tod's are the one brand where when I think of loafers, their Gomino loafers come to mind. Beautiful feminine suede loafers. Tod's do suede loafers incredibly well. I would highly recommend Tod's suede loafers first and foremost. Leather, I'd be more inclined to recommend another brand. The Gominos are beautiful. I like them, but I've never pulled the trigger because they are incredibly decadent shoes, because they have the pebbled soles and they're not replaceable. So once they've worn through, that's it, you're done. Shoes, the loafers cost 450 pounds. So it's a little expensive. And then the type of loafers I would say wear sparingly because of the pebbled sole. They're made from two pieces of suede. So you have the bulk of, the main piece envelopes your foot, and then they have a small piece that's placed on top. A fairly firm suede. And I would also recommend wearing the loafers without socks. And this suede is a little firmer, especially compared to another brand I'm going to recommend in a bit. But it's not too stiff. It doesn't constrict your foot too much, and it's still fairly comfortable. You also have the option to customize the Gomino loafers. Add on 30% extra on top of the 450, and you can pretty much customize everything: the colors, the types of leather you use, the stitching, the pebbling on the other underside. You can even have initials added, for example. They do have a range of loafers that have a sole, a pebbled sole on the underside, and I'd recommend those over the original Gominos because you can replace the sole and it doesn't make the shoes as expensive because you get a lot more mileage. Once you've worn through the sole, you can then replace the sole. My second recommendation within this bit is Roger Vivier. Roger Vivier is a brand I recently spoke about, and they are a fantastic brand. They're French, shoes are made in Italy, and they're known for their signature buckle, typically a champagne colored buckle that goes on all of their shoes. It's a brand like Ferragamo that's very much under the radar. Two styles. They have a slightly chunkier loafer with a Swarovski crystal buckle, and those are coming in at a whopping £1,000 plus. Slightly slimmer fit loafer with a champagne colored signature buckle on top, and they're a little more affordable at £650. They produce loafers just like Tod's for both men and women. On the male side, they have a dressier pair of tuxedo loafers that come in a number of materials. You've got velvet, you've got leather, you've also got patent leather. Fantastic brand that's very much under the radar. The shoes are comfortable. I recently bought a couple of pairs of just their ballerina pumps from Bicester Village, which I really like. There's absolutely nothing I can fault about Roger Vivier. Next recommendation is another Italian brand that I personally really like. I own a pair of shoes from them, but they come up a little big. It's Sergio Rossi. The Rossi family have shoes in their blood. Sergio Rossi's father was a shoemaker. Sergio Rossi is the father of Gianvito Rossi as well. But over the last couple of years, I've noticed that Sergio Rossi has pretty much fallen under the radar, but they recently have been bought by a Chinese group called Fosun that also owns Lanvin, Wilford, St. John, the American knitwear brand, and now Sergio Rossi. And they're just focused on really raising the profile of the brands they own, and they're brands that are focused on craftsmanship, under the radar brands, and it's all about the craftsmanship. Sergio Rossi also have a new state-of-the-art manufacturing plant. But what really stands out about Sergio Rossi, apart from the quality, the craftsmanship that they have built up over the years, is they recently introduced a new creative director. Sergio Rossi unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago, but they have a new creative director with a difference. And they have a lady called Evangeline. I don't know how to pronounce her surname. I'm going to include it down below. But she is an influencer who's coming in and she's creating the content, she's styling, she's dealing with the advertising. She's also the creative person. I think it's an interesting formula and it's fantastic and it's a space to watch because Evangeline pulses with the consumers. She knows what's going on. There isn't a barrier between her and the consumers. She's engaged, she's talking to people, and she's reacting and designing and advertising and styling according to what the market wants, reacting to feedback and adjusting accordingly. And I think that is absolutely fantastic. And I think a lot of department stores can learn from this, because I have met so many sales assistants who complain that the buyers are buying colors or items that don't work for their consumers. Buyers need to buy with sales assistants so they know what to get, what works with their consumers. Sergio Rossi bringing in an influencer is fantastic, and I'm really excited to see how things are going to unfold. She has come in and introduced a brand new style option, very much inspired by the archives, and she's got a whole new range with the new heel, but they still have their old collection of your classic timeless pieces. And in the range, there's a loafer, there are loafers, and there's also a pair of mules. With Sergio Rossi, you're looking at prices of between £600 to £700, but it's a quality brand where you are getting your money's worth in terms of the quality of the leathers, the craftsmanship. They have a new state-of-the-art manufacturing plant. It's a brand I'm looking forward to seeing how things develop for them. And I see great things happening, and with their exposure being increased in China's booming. It's the largest market for fashion and for luxury, so watch this space when it comes to Sergio Rossi. My next two recommendations are the open walk loafers from Italian brand Loro Piana, and the second is the Sangen classic loafers from British brand Baudoin and Lange. The open walk, together with the summer walk loafers, are arguably, I think, in the last 5 years, the most copied loafers in the market. I have seen so many brands create their own take of the loafers. And recently when I was in Italy, I saw a couple of menswear brands with just their own take of the summer walk, the open walk loafers, as their selection of shoes in the entire store. Nothing else but just two variations of those loafers. They have been highly copied because of their supreme comfort. There isn't a pair of shoes in the ready-to-wear space at the moment in the footwear market that is as comfortable as the summer walk or the open walk loafers. They are supremely comfortable. They fit like a glove. When you put your foot in, you cannot feel where the seams of the leather join. There's just supreme comfort going on when you're wearing those shoes. And I can understand why so many brands have gone on to copy them. For the winter, they have the open walk, priced at a whopping £1,975. You are getting a loafer that is fur lined. It has the fur trimming on top, and then on the inside, where the balls of your feet are, it is lined with fur. So it's supremely soft, it's comfortable, it's incredibly warm. So if you're somewhere where it actually snows, you typically won't have a situation where your feet will get numb, your toes go numb because they're so cold. That fur will provide much needed warmth. And then they also have a mule, the babush, and that's coming in at £1,375, but they don't have the fur lining on under the balls of your feet, but they're still very comfortable shoes nonetheless. My next recommendation is the British brand Baudoin with the Sangen, and they're the brand I referred to when I was talking about a slightly softer suede when in the Tod's section. Tod's little firmer suede, whereas with Baudoin, entirely handmade product in the United Kingdom, and they use Asteria suede, and the shoes are unlined. They're incredibly comfortable and they're ready to wear. You don't need to wear them in, and I would highly recommend, like the Gomino from Tod's, wearing them without socks. They're fantastic shoes, very, very comfortable. My next two recommendations are brands just focused on men's loafers. The first is a mid-tier brand. It's Harry's of London. They're going to be rebranding shortly to Harry's London, and I'd like to recommend two of their loafers, the deerskin techno gel loafers and also the calfskin techno gel loafers. The deerskin are coming at a price of £475. The deerskin is incredibly soft. They're unlined, so the deerskin's directly on your skin. It's very soft and it feels like there's absolutely nothing on your feet. Comes with a slightly firmer sole, but all of the shoes have the techno gel insoles. They provide supreme comfort, support. If you're standing for long periods of time, they are fantastic shoes for that because you get a lot of support. The calfskin, slightly cheaper, £375, and you get the option of either smooth calfskin or varying levels of grained calfskin with the techno gel, as I mentioned. Comfortable your business casual shoes. Very similar to loafers that Prada used to produce about 10-15 years ago, with the rubber sole and then the calfskin on top, and then they had the red line running under the bottom of the shoes. But they're very comfortable shoes and great for the mid-tier. My second recommendation is from a brand called Zegna. Zegna is a brand focused on producing some of the best suiting in Italy. The Italians do incredibly well suiting, bedding, handbags, and shoes. And when I found out Zegna have a noteworthy pair of loafers, I was a little skeptical because I was like, a suiting brand with loafers, but they're absolutely fantastic and I cannot recommend them highly enough. It's their reverse construction loafers. They are made from the inside out. So they make the inside first, turn them around, and then they make the outside. That's so they're incredibly flexible and they're soft. They fit like a glove. They are incredibly comfortable shoes. £685, but it's £685 well spent in terms of the comfort and longevity of the shoes that you will get. My final three recommendations are the brands I absolutely love, brands that are focused on one thing because they do them incredibly well. Carefully considered, I've thought long and hard about which brands I'd like to recommend. Top-end brand, it's a brand that's focused more on men's shoes, but they also produce women's loafers. It's a brand called John Lobb, and in particular Paris. There are two, John Lobb London, that produces just bespoke shoes in London, and then there's John Lobb Paris that produces ready-to-wear shoes that are available in London as well as Paris, but the bespoke shoes are only available in Paris. Shoes are produced in the United Kingdom in a place called Northampton, where you have the shoemaking districts. So you have other producers like Sheeny, you have Crockett & Jones, for example. But what I would like to recommend is their loafers, particularly if you're focused on the top end of the market. Why I like them, number of reasons. John Lobb Paris is owned by Hermes. Hermes, they're getting access to leathers from the HCP group, so you're getting the very best quality when it comes to the leathers, and then coupled with the exquisite craftsmanship you get from Hermes. Incredibly well-made product that you will keep for the rest of your life, and it'll be an heirloom. If you can afford ready-to-wear, they're starting from £1,000 plus, 1,075 to be exact. They're great. Bespoke, you're looking at prices of £5,000 to £6,000, depending, of course, on the leather that you're using. But if you want something that's superior, the very best in the market, I would never hesitate to recommend John Lobb ready-to-wear. But they do need wearing in. You need to wear them a few times before they become comfortable. They do produce women's shoes. At the moment in London, they don't have any, but they can make to order and they can get some transferred over. But watch the space. They are producing more women's shoes, and you'll be able to get loafers as well for the top end of the market. My next two recommendations. The second is a Spanish brand called Carmina. They have two boutiques in New York that I recently visited. I like Carmina because they produce Goodyear welted shoes. When it comes to shoe construction, Goodyear welting is the best method that's used to produce shoes. I'm going to attach above a video where I talk in detail about that. Women get a raw deal because we typically don't have a lot of pairs of shoes or brands that are made using the Goodyear welting technique. It takes time and it makes the shoes a lot more expensive. Whereas for women, shoes are fashion. Women buy a lot more pairs of shoes. With men are buying fewer pairs. I know men who have between 2 to 5 pairs of shoes, and that's it. They're Goodyear welted, good quality shoes, which they wear year in, year out, and the leather looks good because they've started off with good quality leather. Carmina are producing Goodyear welted shoes at a fantastic price. You're looking at a price of about £350. There are two lasts I'd like to recommend. The Drag and also their popular one, the Madison last. Good selection of colors and style variations within that. And then throw into that, they source their leather from Annonay, a tannery called Annonay, again owned by HCP, which is owned by Hermes. So you have the craftsmanship, the Goodyear welting, coupled with the very best leathers that are available in the market. My top recommendation is an Italian brand called Santoni. They're produced in an area in Italy called Macerata, and it's an entirely Italian-made product. Italian leathers, and then made in Italy, entirely in Italy. Santoni is arguably one of the best brands, shoe brands in Italy. You're looking at prices of between 500 to 700 for their loafers, for both men and women. And if I was to recommend one style for you, Kristen, it would be, I don't know the exact name, but what I call your frilled loafers. They have the frill detail on top. When I was in one of their boutiques, they have two boutiques in Milan, one just on Via Monte Napoleone, and then the other in Galleria Emanuele. And I remember trying them on, and there were a couple of other shoppers in the store. And one of the ladies literally argued with me and said, "Oh, those look really uncomfortable. They must be hard." And I was like, no. I stepped off the carpet onto the hard surface. They are supremely comfortable. They are very well made. The leather is exquisite. They are comfortable. They're ready to wear. They don't need breaking in. There's absolutely nothing about these shoes that I actually don't like. The only reason I didn't get the brown pair was because they didn't have my size 34.5. They come up a little big. I'm typically a 35.5, but the 34.5 was perfect, but they didn't have my size and they didn't even have it online. But I wouldn't hesitate to recommend any of their styles. And then throw into that, they are now available in the United Kingdom. So it's a testament to the quality and the growing popularity of Santoni. They were introduced into Harrods maybe two to 3 months ago. And when I saw them, they literally had one shelf. I went back last week and they now have a whole section dedicated to their shoes. Santoni shoes, Italian brand that upholds the Italian reputation for exquisite craftsmanship when it comes to their shoes. It's Santoni. If you see Santoni anywhere, take a look at their shoes, and in particular the loafers. They are my top recommendation. If you want to invest in a fantastic pair of loafers that'll serve you well, look no further than Santoni. But Kristen, I hope there's something amongst the selection that I have chosen for you that you like. Any other questions, please let me know in the comments down below. But to my other subscribers, thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon.